All right, welcome everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Laurie Ledley, and I'm the founder and president of Valley Sleep Center and Valley Sleep Therapy. I just want to say thank you so much. We have over 200 people signed up for tonight, probably because we're giving away an Air Mini. We're going to be talking about traveling on an airplane and also sleeping while you're traveling with the CPAP. The Air Mini is a travel CPAP. It's like an $890 value. So I'll be drawing names. I'll text Andrew who the winner is. Andrew Neighbors, for those of you who don't know him, he's a clinical sleep educator with Valley Sleep Center. He's a respiratory therapist. He loves all things health. He lives this in his own life. And he spends his days working with people through their CPAP issues. So if you have trouble using CPAP, we have a clinic in all locations. Andrew's also available through telemedicine, as he only goes to, I think, Scottsdale, Biltmore, and Glendale.
Yes.
Correct. So thank you, Andrew. And if you guys have any questions, you can put them on Facebook or you can put them in the chat or the Q&A, and Andrew will get to your questions at the end of the webinar. Thank you, Andrew. Welcome.
Awesome. Okay. So, Lori, I mean, the first question is, do I need to register for the drawing?
No.
And I believe it's everybody who's in the attendees will be eligible for the drawing as long as you stay towards the through the webinar.
Yeah. Stay here or you can't win. Got to be present to win.
All right. So, and then I'll get to these chat questions and stuff once we get through this the webinar and the slideshow, and I can touch base on some questions. So yes, as Lori said, I am Andrew. I work with Valley Sleep Center, and I've been in the sleep field for going on 12 years now. And yep, the clinical sleep educator here. I'm here to help people with any sort of particular sleep issues you have, whether it was CPAP related or just, if you just need some questions regarding on how to get just general better sleep, I can help you out with that. And in the case of sleeping on an airplane, well, I mean, I did it just a few weeks ago, and if anybody's ever tried to sleep in an airplane, it can be an experience, to say the least. It'd be nice, wonderful to get those Dubai airplanes where you can have your own little suite and fly laying down, but that's not logical for the majority of the population. So here's some tips for the layperson that we can actually make ourselves sleep and sleep better. So I will share my screen and get the slideshow started. So it's traveling with a CPAP machine and sleeping on an airplane. So there's 7 general tips for this. I'm going to go into more detail as we go, but you want to pick the best seat, canceling noise, securing your head, like Lori mentioned, so it doesn't bob around, bringing blankets, wearing eye masks. Fluids are obviously very important. A lot of the planes now are not serving alcohol on the plane, but of course we can get it in the terminal. And antibiotic ointment under your nostrils is a very helpful cue, and I'll talk about all these things. So first and foremost, sleeping on an airplane with a CPAP, right? So all CPAP machines are FAA approved as a carry-on, okay? Every airline will approve it, at least in the United States. I have heard outliers in some airlines that are out of the country, foreign airlines they're still weirded on a CPAP machine. They don't know what they are. They're not commonly used in some of these foreign countries, but in America, every airline recognizes it as a medical device. Okay, so it is a carry-on. There's insignia on the bottom of your machine that says RX only. Okay, so thankfully, to the growing awareness amongst us, there are less restrictions for these. There are portable CPAP machines, and of course, you could use a regular CPAP machine in an airplane. A little more complicated just due to size restrictions. Now, before you fly on the plane, of course, ResMed has some information regarding. Oops, clicking ahead too fast. Stop it. Go back. ResMed has some information regarding some information on flying with your machine. Of course, having your prescription with you, that can be very important, because of course it's going to show that you are prescribed this item, it guarantees your ability to bring it on the plane. Picking seat access. Some planes have direct power sources, okay? That's incredibly helpful for people that have not purchased CPAP batteries, okay? Direct power sources are going to be available on all international flights. And depending on the type of plane, the newness of the plane, you're going to have them even on just regular flights here in the country. Sometimes just simple, quick flights like here to LA, you'll have planes like that. You want to make sure you get approval from the airline to use the machine online. It's very, very important. I was talking to a patient today, and he was discussing that he's going to be flying to Europe, and he's flown many times, and he has an Air Mini, his travel CPAP machine, and he's generally ready to go. And he was asking me, because he saw that I was doing this webinar, he asked me today, what do you know about using it on a plane? And I, told him the general gist of what I knew and what I'm going to cover on this. And more or less, we have some really weird rules with COVID, being primarily that, of course, we have to wear a mask on a plane. Well, CPAP is, of course, a mask, but works in a different manner. So I recommended him call the airline, being that it was a foreign airline that he's flying on, contact them and discussing what kind of rules and regulations they have regarding CPAP use, because he is flying overnight and does need to sleep. He's the type of patient that cannot sleep without his machine. So it's imperative that he is on treatment, even for a flight, even sitting upright, okay? Now, going through TSA with the CPAP machine, it is, as I said, it is a carry-on, and it's something that you will want to bring with. Packing it can be lost. I've had a couple examples of patients losing CPAP machines where they've ended up in other states, and not with them. It's in the wrong state. And I had one guy who lost his CPAP machine and ended up in India, which he didn't get back. And yeah, that was a mess. I also had another situation where a person did carry it on. So it's a good idea to keep track of it, keep your eye on your machine, because a guy did bring his machine on his plane, and he got to his travel destination and he thought he had his machine with him, and he opened it up and it was not his. These bags look the same. There isn't any specific markings that sets one bag apart from another, unlike we do with suitcases. So of course, tagging your bag, making sure you're grabbing your CPAP. This guy had this machine, and it was not his, and he knew it right away because it wasn't his mask, and the machine wasn't well taken care of. Let's just say that. And what's even more weird is his machine was actively being used by whoever took it in the airport. And then whoever knew where it was at. The best thing I could tell him is it was in a different time zone based on the time the machine was being sent. But at that point, it's a lost cause. You can't track to the exact destination of where it's at and who took it. But hang on to your CPAP machine. Now, there's some general tips for just sleeping in general on a plane. Of course, flying on a plane is not the most comfortable thing. You're sitting upright, you have the seat. Who knows how much arm and shoulder space you have and room you have, but picking the best seat is very important. Like as Lori and I were mentioning, sitting close to the front or in the front of the plane is huge. I try to sit up front as well, just because I like getting on and off the plane quicker. It's just logistics for that. And then there's a bathroom up there. They're like convenience issues, but the very front of the plane, you do have an extra leg space, of course. And then elevating your feet is very important. So you could use your carry-on items to kind of lift your feet up, elevate your feet to get some better blood flow, especially on long flights. If you have leg swelling or something, you don't want any deep vein thrombosis or any issues with blood pooling in your legs. This will be helpful. Of course, noise canceling headphones or earplugs. Reducing the sound of a sound around you. Obviously, sleeping in a cool, cold environment at home is hugely important. And on a plane, it's a little harder. So, of course, the survey said 51% of people said that earplugs and noise-canceling headphones were the #1 choice to help them get better sleep. If you have headphones, you can also download an app called Nama Sleep, and that can help you get some Z's. Securing your head so it doesn't bob when you fall asleep. Lori mentioned she travels with a scarf, and she'll tie it around the headrest. and it kind of hold her head back. And she'll also drift it over her eyes. So it covers her eyes, blocks light. Okay. So that's a way to keep your head from falling forward or drifting and bobbing. Of course, we have the neck pillows that you can sleep with. You can kind of rest your head into your shoulder with those. Those are helpful. There's a airline pillow called the Z band. There's a couple other different types that are created where it can hold on to headrests and stuff, just like the scarf idea, just to keep your head from just not falling. That'll allow you to sleep a little better and a little smoother, instead of just constantly being aroused from your head bobbing forward. Of course, if you're a person that has, I mean, a lot of patients have thyroid issues, so the hot cold sort of transitions and stuff. So bringing your own blanket is important. Very rarely you're going to see blankets on airplanes anymore. And then there's also a sneaky idea where you can bring a zip up hoodie, and you can flip it around and you can put your arms in it, and you might even be able to pull the hood over your face. I don't know how you can get away with that. Probably won't be able to breathe very well. But if you had a CPAP bringing air through, maybe this could be a nice combo event. But yeah, tie your arms in a sweatshirt, cover your face, nice and comfortable. And of course, wearing an eye mask, same concept with the scarf over your eyes, but light disrupts the circadian rhythms. One of the things that I do, I almost always, when I'm not working, I almost always have a hat on, and I tend to like loosen up a couple clips in the back, and I'll bring it over my eyes so it sits over my nose, so it'll kind of block light. That helps. And plus headphones, whether I'm listening to a podcast or music, or just you can like the Nama sleep app, or just be something to help you put you to sleep. Antibiotic ointment under your nose, like some Neosporin, it can help block some germs. Also, it's flying on a plane is very dry, so if you have a tendency to block up your nose, maybe some Vicks vapor rub underneath your nose as well. Also, as I just mentioned, flying on a plane is very dry, so drinking plenty of water to prevent dehydration is very important. And like, you got nice big old hydro flasks and such, and obviously you have to have it empty going through security, but as soon as you're on the other side, fill the sucker up. You have a full supply of water. You don't have to wait for the flight attendants to bring you water or something, and they only give you this little tiny baby cup. So having a lot of water with you so you can just drink it, not be dehydrated, is helpful. Also, if it helps avoid headaches and nausea. And also, of course, if you're drinking alcohol, which a lot of people do pre-flight for just relaxation or anxiety or whatever, it has a dehydrating effect. So drinking water to help offset the effect of alcohol is very important. Drinking 8 ounces of water for every hour flying is recommended. Now, this dives back into using a CPAP on a plane. Of course, face coverings are required still. And I don't know how many people have seen videos online of people that don't want to wear a mask on an airplane, but it gets pretty ugly for trying to buck the requirements of the federal government for not wearing a mask on a plane. So we got to wear a mask on a plane. Now, using a CPAP is something you should absolutely contact the airline and talk to a human being to discuss what the rules are. Don't send an email. Don't rely on what the online website says. Talk to a physical person regarding what are the rules behind it. Now, there is an alternative treatment for sleep apnea. It's called Inspire. Now, Inspire, for a lot of patients, is a life-saving technique for people who have not been able to tolerate CPAP successfully, or people who fight CPAP, or people who they've tried it and for whatever reason doesn't bind. So it is a treatment for sleep apnea where there is small incisions in the chest. A device is placed in the chest like the side of a matchbook, and then it goes up into the throat. It does innervate the throat to keep the throat open to help eliminate sleep apnea. Okay, it's an outpatient procedure. There's some small incisions, like I said, in the neck and chest. Most often, patients will return home the next day, and they'll be able to go about their daily activities within a few days. Very mild over-the-counter pain medication is used. The Inspire treatment is just this remote. You can click it, turn it on. there is the ability to adjust some settings that you have, but it works with your body's natural breathing process, delivering this mild stimulation to the airway to keep your muscles open. All you need is this remote. So it does eliminate the need to figure out this whole CPAP process. You know, you can pause therapy. If you got to get up, you can shut it off. A lot of patients are offered, they like this easy, less intrusive method. And it helps with flying. Obviously, you don't have to deal with the CPAP. And it helps for a lot of people who do travel a lot or camp a lot, or just have not flat out been able to tolerate CPAP at all. Okay. Now, of course, if you're ready to travel with a CPAP, need a travel CPAP or information on batteries or new equipment for your CPAP, we can help you with that. You can visit Valley Sleep Therapy for the travel machines. A lot of these outside DME vendors, they don't really carry these travel machines. They'll stock the main component, but don't really carry the other process because it's not a prescription. It's not an insurance paid for item. It's an out-of-pocket item. Now, of course, it can be paid for with a health savings account, flex spending account. They're usually around $800 plus. They can be more expensive depending on accessories, but Valley Sleep Therapy does carry it. So if you need to get a travel CPAP machine, that is the route you're going to want to take. So I can stop my share and go through some Q&A. All right. Hopefully everybody got something out of this. And for Sandra, does this seminar regarding CPAP also pertain to BiPAP? Well, CPAP and BiPAP are still required under prescription. CPAP is more or less a loose term when it comes to this treatment. A lot of times it'd be like saying shoes. You could be talking about boots and still call them shoes. BiPAP more or less is just a little bit of a step up, a bit of treatment than a CPAP machine, but you can still bring it on the plane nonetheless. Sitting on the row, because you can come up, because their cart is coming through and you can have your leg out, it could be disturbing to hit you in the row and stuff. Yes, Phil, yes, the machines are allowed and they don't count as a carry-on. So you can bring the machine and your regular carry-on items. So it's very helpful. And yeah, it's a lot easier to bring the two items instead of having to worry about stuffing everything in your carry-on. But with the travel CPAP machines, I mean, they can go small, like in a little, like a toiletries bag. You can just zip it up and put everything inside there. So they're very tiny. They can easily go in your carry-on. And now you just really have one carry-on item. It'll just help. For Guy, there is the slides. There will be this will be put on YouTube, so you can get the slides and stuff that way. Sandy, percentage-wise, how successful is the Inspire system? Inspire treating sleep apnea, it can be somewhere around 80% effective for treating sleep apnea. Now, if you stand back and think 0% or 80%, you're going to notice a massive difference. Generally speaking, the CPAP machine is a better treatment for sleep apnea. It's more effective if you can use it, and you can use it regularly. Chantre, yes, you can use the travel machines at home. I do have some patients who use the travel machines primarily as their go-to system. Interestingly enough, the ResMed Air Mini's motor is the same motor that is being used in the ResMed AirSense 11, which came out last month. So the AirSense 11 is ResMed's new system. And again, they're the same motor, so just as effective and efficient. And EPS, do travel machines have a humidifier? There are some travel machines that have dedicated humidifiers that actually have like water. Kind of defeats the purpose of a travel machine because it adds bulk and size. The ResMed system uses what's called a heat moisture exchanger. It's more or less a capsule disc that reuses your humidity when you're breathing. It's applicable on nasal masks only. If you use a full face mask, the Air Mini will be a dry system. You'd have to get an alternative travel machine that uses dedicated water to have that. Got some chat questions. All right, so let's start. Rowan, yeah, your sleep study score was 93 and SATs as low as 58. Yep, better should get on treatment as soon as possible, Rowan. It's those are some pretty scary numbers right there. Dan Haney, the Dream Station recall. Well, that ain't that a nightmare. Well, the Dream Station recall is, of course, is been put out by Philips Respironics about three months ago or so. There is a sound abatement dampening foam that's in the system that's being deteriorated on certain machines that patients can end up breathing in. It can cause significant upper respiratory infections, and according to Respironics, it can be linked to cancer. If you have a Dream Station machine, you're supposed to go directly to the Philips Respironics website, fill out their questionnaire, register the system. Once you have the system registered, you go into a queue and wait. I wish I had more information for you. You're waiting for the FDA to approve this new foam. I've read and heard that there are 3 options that patients are getting from Respironics. It's either a new machine, a fixed machine, or reimbursement for you to buy your own new machine. When this happens is a mystery. Everything is being handled by Philips Respironics. We are writing prescriptions for patients to get new machines as they are necessary if they can, but the recall situation is unfortunately a mess. Yes, medical devices do not count as carry-on. The thing about the filter and the travel machines, it's not so much the filter issue, it's when you exhale, the air comes out your mask. So the mask for the face covering is preventing particles from being dispersed, whereas a CPAP can be dispersing particles. Now, there are some masks, primarily the AirFit F20, AirFit F30, that has a filtered vent on the mask, which in my opinion would be effective. But at the end of the day, this is up to the discretion of the airlines, which is why it's always very important to talk to a physical person. The app is called Nama Sleep. So the distilled water situation, if you're traveling to a stable destination, you'll be there for a good period of time, like you're going to family or something, getting a gallon of distilled water when you get there can be pretty straightforward and easy. Now, if you're at a hotel room, bottled water. Most bottled water is reverse osmosis. Primarily, I recommend using Dasani brand because it's easy to find. It's bottled by Coca-Cola. You can find it basically anywhere. But as long as if you read the label and it says filtered by reverse osmosis process, that's close. It's very close to distilled. And if you were to use that type of water consistently in a humidifier, you would notice a salt buildup in it, and you'd have to scrub it out or at least replace the water tank. But more or less, just use bottled water. The travel machines, some of the smaller ones, it's only about 10 ounces of water if you have one that's capable of carrying a humidifier. But again, as I said, these travel machines bringing a humidifier is kind of silly. Work with most mask-specific ones for stomach sleepers. The machine itself isn't so much the question regarding a mask. The masks are capable to be used with essentially every machine. There isn't specifically a mask that's designed for stomach sleeping. There's masks that are touted as stable stomach sleeping masks, but the thing about a mask is that every mask will work with every body position. You as the patient's job is to find the mask that you like or the mask that works for you and kind of work with it. Being stuck with a mask, you're never married to your mask. You can always change it and you can always try something new. Tamara Porter, how long does it usually take to get your machine once it's been ordered? It all depends on what your insurance, some insurances require authorization. Sometimes the DME company, the company that supplies these machines, drag their feet. If it's been longer than, if you haven't heard anything about a week or two, contact the sleep center, ask if there is any information, or contact the company that's going to be selling you the machine and ask him what's going on. Kim Ecott, can you talk more about the battery for the regular machine? There's the batteries for the regular machine. There's lots of different batteries available. Depending on the type of machine you use, you want to make sure the battery lines up with your machine. Certain machines run off 24 volts, some run off 12 volt. There's quite a bit of batteries that can be purchased online. There's small batteries that are designed for specific CPAP use only. They usually last about a day or so. Then there's more or less big power cells that, like I had a patient look into purchasing the other day. I found one for him on Amazon for, it's like more big power cell they use if he has power outages in his house. That was rated at lasting 3 or 4 days with the machine. Alexa, I'm new to sleep apnea, mild sleep apnea. It's been 2 months. I've not slept uninterrupted yet. I'm constantly waking up. Sometimes I even wake up and my mask is hanging up. I'm wearing the most comfortable mask. Well, you're still adjusting to treatment and therapy. It's not uncommon for a person, even in the first couple of months of treatment, to still be waking up and noticing the mask, or the mask shifts, or it leaks and blows a little bit in your eyes. Some of it is very difficult to stop from happening just because of the unknown of when we're sleeping. People removing their mask while they're sleeping and kind of putting it off and hanging it up is unfortunately and weirdly very common. The only way to power through that is consistency. There's no magic way to power through this mask removal thing, especially if you're happy with the mask and not really having any issues with pressure or anything like that. Alexa, how long am I going to get used to it? Well, it sounds like at least if you're staying consistent, then you're doing very well with the system. If you can log at least 4+ hours, that's actually deemed a level of success. And I'm pretty happy when I can get a patient 4+ hours of use regularly. They're going to get a lot of health benefits from it. While it's not optimal, it's better than 0. I answered the recall thing. Rowan Harper, I do it suggest Inspire based on what you said about your sleep score. You don't qualify. Yes, I answered the qualified. The drinking water. Larry, yes, you can use Inspire. That uses the right side of the chest instead of the left side of the chest. So with your defibrillator, it won't be a problem. Ricky Vargas, there's no, honestly, the thing about the water situation is what we really don't want you to use is tap water. Tap water is gross. You shouldn't be breathing that in. The reason they recommend using distilled water is because you're going to be using just pure H2O. There's nothing in it. But as I said, with bottled water, if it's reverse osmosis, it's going to have trace salts in it. So using bottled water versus no water or even tap water is light years ahead of tap water. And Bickney's So Clean machine, good for cleaning CPAP equipment. So Clean machine is actually directly linked to the recall that Philips Respironics has put out. Does it work for cleaning a CPAP equipment? It disinfects it very well. Does it clean it? Not really. Soap and water is much better. So Clean machines are great disinfectants. Dennis, my CPAP values are all over the place. Can't get Lincare to return my calls. I don't like Lincare either. They're frustrating as well. If you contact our office, maybe your insurance can go to a different vendor and we can help you out with getting set up with somebody new. Mentioned the battery. Don't use spring water, just reverse osmosis. Yeah, Carlene, yes, on a lot of cruise lines, if you let them know that you're using a CPAP machine, they will bring you water. Glue it to your head. That's a technique. I've had patients use tape. Don't use tape, but yeah. So Ricky, yes, qualifying for Inspire can be based on your sleep scores. There's certain criteria for it. Not everybody can qualify. They're working on getting it, I guess you can say, broadening the spectrum a little bit. Aaron, I can't answer that question. You'd have to talk to the Inspire people. I'd like to say I've heard them discuss this, and I can't remember their answer regarding scuba diving. But from the pressure of going underwater, but I would, it would be tough to answer that without talking directly to the Inspire people, because that's such a one-off sort of situation. There's not a high percentage of scuba divers with sleep apnea that use Inspire, if you follow what I'm putting down. But you'd be better off using a CPAP because you don't have to worry about the device inside your body. I've answered pretty much everything. Mark Anthony, are there any more rugged tubing? No, because you're good holes. The tubing situation, how are you getting the holes is a big question. If it's from animals, there's CPAP tubing wrap that goes the length of the hose that protects the hose. If you're getting it from wild sleeping, they do make some pretty heavy duty kind of corrugated tubing that's pretty, it doesn't move very well. It's like stiff. So it's like vacuum cleaner hose, but it is available. I mean, you could just ask your DME vendor or Amazon or whatever. Andrea, what qualifies you for Inspire? Apnea index between 15 and 60, generally a body mass index under 35, that sort of thing. Yes, Mark, your cat's trying to kill you. Buy CPAP tubing wrap. Go to Amazon, $10, save you. Are there any side effects of tap water? Tap water has chlorine and fluoride in it. Don't want to breathe that in. Plus, it makes everything incredibly difficult to clean with all the hard water minerals deposits stuff. Yes, Vicky, you do use your own tubing on a travel CPAP. Travel CPAP machines come with tubing, so you would use the tubing that comes with it. But I mean, some machines you could use your own tubing with. Okay, Lori did text me. I have a winner for our Air Mini travel machine. And our winner today is Mr. Dwayne Thoreau. Lori will contact you. We'll have somebody in contact with you for the Air Mini. Congratulations, Dwayne. And I will be ending the webinar. If you have any other questions, of course, we can be reached. Nicole, yes, you would be a candidate for the travel machine, and you can take your regular one on board as well. So traveling to Europe shouldn't be a problem. It'll work with the voltages in Europe as well. And I will end the webinar.